I was going to call you Minister there. Maybe someday, Senator Coughlin. I can't support any notion that there will be a guillotine introduced in relation to this legislation. This is probably, the Judicial Appointments Bill is probably the most flawed piece of legislation that I've ever seen come into either of these houses. In my 8 years' experience in these houses and in my many years of watching and studying politics and how it's conducted in these chambers, it's high time that Minister Ross himself focused on his own brief and decided to focus on that, because heaven knows that there are far too many pressing issues in his own brief that he seems to be practically ignoring because of his unrelenting focus, a ridiculous focus on this piece of legislation. And not only does the majority, in my opinion, of members of this House disagree with, but many important international organisations have expressed their concerns with. It's quite likely that many, if not most, aspects of this legislation is actually deeply unconstitutional. So we actually have an obligation as elected members and appointees to this House to fully scrutinise this legislation, to do the business of the people in this House, to ensure that the laws or draft laws we are considering are at the very least constitutional. Otherwise, we would not be fulfilling our roles and responsibilities, our constitutional roles and responsibilities. Minister Ross himself seems completely obsessed as well with policing issues, but only policing issues in his own constituency. I want to raise here today another episode in my own hometown of Drogheda where shots were fired at a house in the Rathmullen estate. Again, there's an ongoing local feud, and I've raised it repeatedly in this House, the fact that we have a very limited number of members of An Garda Síochána in our town, where most towns of an equivalent size have 10 to 12 guards per unit per shift. We've got 5 to 7 guards in the area trying to police an ongoing criminal violent feud without the resources that they need. And any time I raise this issue in this House, I'm told by ministers that it's not their responsibility, that they don't allocate members of An Garda Síochána. But that did not stop the Minister for Justice coming to my own hometown in December and promising members of An Garda Síochána that they would get what they want and what they need. And unfortunately, Drogheda did not get the guards and the resources that they need. Shane Ross is obsessed with the new police station in his own home area, but he's very little to say about ongoing criminal feuds in areas like the north side of Dublin, referenced by my colleague Seanad Éireann, and the lack of policing resources there, or the lack of policing resources in my own community. I'd prefer if he stuck to his own brief, and if he's expressing an interest in criminal justice matters, judicial matters and policing matters, that he does it in a holistic fashion and looks at areas that need those resources and not his own area, because that's the worst type of parish pub politics, the type of politics that he always said he never represented. It is utterly disgraceful that in this era of so-called new politics, when this government decided that it wasn't going to use the guillotine, that it uses it now to fulfil its own agenda for its own narrow purposes, and I greatly object to that.
Thank you, Senator.